Booger McFarland from ESPN, according to him, Baker Mayfield is not the Bucs quarterback of the future. Thank you for that revelation, Booger. I think we can all agree with that. Baker's an interesting player because I like Baker Mayfield. I think he's a good quarterback to have on your roster. He's a guy who is going to give you his all. He's a guy that I think can keep you into games. Is he great? No, he's not great. I don't think he's ever going to be great, but he's got a chip on his shoulder. He's got that winner attitude. He's got that quarterback charisma. He's got what you want, right? He's there so that Kyle Trask doesn't have to be your quarterback. You don't want the Kyle Trasks of the NFL as your starting quarterback. He's the only other quarterback on the roster. The Bucs are in kind of a rebuild mode. It's kind of interesting because they're a team in serious turmoil as far as, you know, Brady's gone. Obviously, Gronk is gone. Leonard Fournette, the Leonard Fournette of a couple years ago is not there anymore. So they're shifting everywhere, right? They're losing the players that were kind of holding this team up. On top of that, coaching-wise, Todd Bowles is not Bruce Arians. Okay, so it's the culture's changed, the personnel's changed, the identity's changed. Where will they go in the future? Baker, to me, is a great bridge quarterback to find that future.
As far as the Buccaneers quarterback position, here's what I'll say. If Kyle Trask, or they thought Kyle Trask was the guy, I don't think they would bring in Baker Mayfield to quote-unquote compete with him. I do think it's going to be an open competition. I don't
agree with that. If you think Kyle Trask is the guy, or if you think Kyle Trask could be the guy, but you have no way to know that, bring in competition. Because he's not competing with Tom Brady, right? He's never competed with Tom Brady. So bring in Baker. Bring Baker in and say, you know what? Compete with Trask. We think this is a guy right now that's kind of, you know, along your talent level. Beat him out. So this could be exactly what you would do with a young quarterback who you want to kind of get that competitive reps going, who you want to see compete, who you want to see, what do I have in this guy? Can Kyle Trask win the job? Can he take the locker room over from Baker Mayfield? Or is Baker Mayfield going to come in, beat out Kyle Trask, and then own the locker room? Because if he does that, then maybe what we thought we had in Kyle Trask, we don't have. So I think this is a great move from a front office to do, instead of just saying, you know what, Kyle Trask is on the roster, so he's our guy, let's just go ahead and give him the job. I like the idea of making them compete, making him go in there and prove something. To me, it's a smart move and something that I think more teams should do when you have a young backup.
I don't think the quarterback of the future is on this team right now, and if you're a Buccaneer fan, here's what you want to happen. You want them to be just good enough to entertain you, but just bad enough to lose, because you want one of those top two quarterbacks.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not sure if they're that bad. When you look at this doesn't look like the personnel for a team that is going to be the first overall pick, especially with how bad the division is. I mean, they're playing Carolina twice a year. They're playing Atlanta twice a year. They're playing the Saints twice a year. This offense right here looks competitive enough to me to be like on the low end, like a 6-win team, 5-win team, somewhere in there. 4-win at the absolute lowest. Does that get you the first overall pick? I don't know about that. But it's not. I don't think they're that bad.
That Todd talked about in 2024, then you can have your quarterback of the future, because ultimately I think that's what they're looking for. If they could come out of this draft in 2024 with Caleb Williams or Drake May somehow, I think everybody in Tampa would be ecstatic.
Yeah, he could have also said that with every other team in the NFL. There's like 5 teams in the NFL that wouldn't be ecstatic to come out of next year's draft with Caleb Williams or Drake May.
Yeah, I share your skepticism about Mayfield and Trask. Trask, by the way, I felt like if they really believed in his potential internally, they might have started him in that meaningless game at the end of the last season. Here's my concern with Tampa. I worry that, contrary to the not Todd McShay generated draft order, they're going to be too good because the defense.
There you go. Thank you. Yeah, I think the same. I don't think they are. I don't think they're that bad. I mean, you see the roster. Maybe I'm wrong, but I never am. But you see the roster. Do y'all think? Let me know in the comments below. Do y'all think that roster, that offense that you just saw, and then you can go look at the defense yourself? Look at that roster and tell me, is that the worst team in the NFL?
Defense is still pretty solid and too good, by the way, to get, to be in reaching order of picks 1 or 2. And I don't know if you guys have looked at the Rams and Cardinals rosters lately, but they might as well have tanks drawn around the depth charts. Like, that is going to be a race to the bottom in that division, the likes of which we have not seen.
It's so funny how different people view teams. So I just recently did a reaction to Colin Cowherd's top 10 NFC teams. He had the Rams at like 6. I think the Rams are one of the worst teams in the NFL. And now we're hearing here that they're one of the worst teams in the NFL. So it's amazing how polarizing some of these teams are in the offseason.
Seen in a while. And I'll tell you this, if the Rams are in position to get Williams or May, they are absolutely going to take one of those quarterbacks.
Oh, Mina is 100% correct. If the Rams can get homegrown Caleb Williams, shoot. I mean, that may be enough to keep Sean McVay from retiring.
And the Cardinals, I think, now have a ton of optionality where maybe Kyler comes back and he plays good and they can trade that pick. Great. The Bucs will have incredible competition for it. Or they might draft a quarterback too. So if I'm Tampa, I'd be a little bit worried about next year being in position to grab one of those 2 superstars who I think are true superstars. Yeah,
I mean, I just did a video on that as well. I think they are true superstars, but the Bucs aren't that bad. And Baker is a guy where every place he's gone since Cleveland, I've thought, okay, he could do it. Like, I've thought he could kind of turn this around. I do think that physically you have to have certain things to succeed as a quarterback, for sure. But I'm not going to say more importantly, but maybe 60-40 is what you are as a leader in the locker room, all that stuff. And I think Baker, and I might be wrong, but I think Baker has that. I think Baker is a winner. I think Baker is a gamer. I think Baker is a guy who's going to get the locker room rolling and who's going to compete. And even if he's going to try and make plays and he's trying and use his athleticism and, physically it might not be there. And we've seen that where he struggles seeing the field. He's with his height and he struggles rolling out to both sides. He struggles kind of making all the throws, but there's just intangibles that I think he has. And I'm not saying that Baker is an all-pro quarterback, but he's certainly not the guy that you get when you're tanking. The Jazz this year were supposed to tank. And when I saw they had their roster, I remember thinking, like, this isn't really the roster you tank with, because these are like Jordan Crawford is not a guy, or Jordan Clarkson, excuse me, is not a guy that you get when you're going to tank, because he's a gamer. He's going to sit there and shoot you into games. And that's exactly what their roster did. They were good enough to just not tank. So I think Baker and the Bucs are very similar, to where this expectation that they're going to tank, I don't think it's there. If they were in a different division, possibly. But if you look at the Bucs and you look at even like the Patriots, team like that no one's accusing of tanking, I don't see very much difference in the roster. I might be off here, but again, I never am. Let me know in the comments below, ladies and gentlemen, what you think. Who is the worst team in the NFL? Who do you think is the worst team in the NFL? Go through the rosters, go through all that stuff. Let me know in the comments below who's right there. Who is probably going to be the worst team in the National Football League? I'll go ahead and tell you right now, it's not the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Thank you for watching, ladies and gentlemen. I will see you on the next video.